Hello everyone, I am Avantika Mohan, the Community Lead for Sustainability at BW Business World. And today we are with Dr. Nidhi Pundhir, Vice President Global CSR, HCL Foundation. HCL Foundation is the CSR leg of HCLTech. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Today we are here to explore the HCLTech Grant's journey and how it aims to build the nation through the fifth estate, that is the NGOs. With that, I come to my first question, ma'am. How did HCL Foundation embark on the journey of the grant and how was it conceptualized?
Thanks, Avantika. First of all, a very warm welcome to HCL Foundation, and we sincerely appreciate the overall community development stories put out by Business World. I think it's a very pleasant moment to be interviewed on this journey after 9 years that we've been, on this beautiful journey. I would say very different. I think 2015-16 is when it was conceptualized long ago by our chairperson, Mrs. Roshni Nadar Malhotra, where she wanted to come forward and acknowledge the kind of contribution that non-government organizations, the not-for-profit, they have been making towards nation building throughout. And I remember the initial discussions, the strategic discussions around the grant, where we clearly remember that there was nothing out there, especially from corporates or within the CSR space, which said that here is the contribution of NGOs, the not-for-profits, the social purpose organizations, and how do we really structure it in such a manner that it becomes inspirational for them to come forward and do more and more. The first felicitations of the grant were made by then our late President, Honorable Pranab Mukherjee ji himself, and that is a testimony that how much it was valued in the country. 2016 we also reshaped a bit in terms of adding health and environment as two critical categories, and I would say 2015 when we actually launched the grant on education category, the kind of response that we got from NGO communities rather inspired us that we should add categories. And by adding health and environment, we kind of covered the entire spectrum of sustainable development goals. We made the methodology in such a way that it is just not about the award grant, or it's just not about the 5 crore each category per year, being committed, which is like almost like in those times it used to be 15 crore commitment, and then we increased it to 16.5. But it was the journey itself of 365 days where NGOs will come forward and apply, how we are going to interact with them, travel across the country, meet them. I think we focused more on the process than we were very clear that the results would automatically be something we'll all cherish together. So I think me and my team, we've traveled like more than 20 states each year, and we keep doing that, and I don't think there is any kind of boredom which has got set in, because this is such a beautiful country, diverse in all forms, and HCLTech Grant has really, India Grant has really helped us learn the diversity, enjoy the diversity. Each year we travel like new districts, new villages. The NGOs who have been applying, they keep applying back because they also enjoy the process, the step-by-step methodology, which is very transparent. It's out in public domain. We conduct symposiums throughout the year for them to come and understand not only the grant, but also the larger, I would say, nuances of the CSR law. How do you really strategize your not-for-profit agenda within the law? How do you understand the intersectoral conversations within your own state? How do they really apply from district level to block level to village level? Then weave it back to the national policy, the SDGs. So it's so, I would say, addictive in a way that you keep doing it and you want to do more.
Definitely, ma'am. With that, I want to come to my next question, and that is, how many NGOs has the grant covered so far, and what has been the geographical footprint and the sectoral footprint of the grant?
So the methodology of the grant is such that the universe is huge. I mean, when we started, we were also trying to get the data that how many NGOs are there in India as such. I mean, and we learned that there are more than 3 million NGOs and maybe more, we don't know, because the registered portal said so in those times, 2016, and the numbers have only multiplied ever since, because more and more have come forward, younger organizations have come forward, but that's the larger universe. One way or the other, HCLTech Grant touches all of them, because we give enough time, more than 60 days, for them to register, come forward, and I would say the agency is building each year. Name a database and we are working with it, be it ministerial database, state level database, Manthan database, Darpan database, all of them, and we try to make the outreach, and the purpose of the outreach to be so far and wide is that every organization must get an opportunity to be able to apply for such a grant. Therefore, we just don't limit ourselves to announcing it on website or doing a press release. We actually travel, we actually dig out, and there has been, even latest edition 9th, we have discovered NGOs, just imagine Manipur, Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir, Ladakh, Jharkhand. There are a lot of organizations which may not still have internet access, which may still not be reading all kinds of newspapers. So we make the outreach in such a manner. Then comes the stage of direct mailers which would go out, which still touch more than 100,000 per year diligently. And then we do symposiums. Symposiums, again, we have, I think, up to 5,000 people, one way or the other, and then the larger online. The ones who win the grant could be 30, 35 who have actually financially benefited from the grant. But if you look at the compendiums which we are putting out each year, I mean, this is like an example where we kind of, this is volume 7, and each year we do a volume where the top 10 cases are published. And these are made available at a global level to all the donor community, to the NGOs, to the ministries, to the libraries, to academia who are actually wanting to study what best practices mean. So that's the reach of HCLTech Grant, and we are only trying to make it better such that small or big working in any of these categories are not left out.
That's wonderful to know, ma'am. And since you've talked about touching so many NGOs and so many lives through the grant, could you give us 6 initiatives, the top 6 initiatives as per you that the NGOs have implemented through the grant, if possible 2 in each category?
Now that's a very difficult question, Avantika, because the whole methodology of the grant is to unmine the diamonds, and each year 3 are picked up in each category, and the other 2 are also no less. So 9 cases are presented to our eminent jury, and I've always been saying that, like a broken record, that the first 10 per year, like last year edition 9 we had 16,000 plus registrations. So you can imagine that each year when we put out the first 10 cases to the sub jury, we make sure that each case has equal probability of winning the grant. So the kind of hard work that happens, and there's nothing called elimination, it's just a selection. It's just a selection, and each year the universe shifts. Each year the competition shifts. The larger guidance shifts. This year India was celebrating G20 presidency. Last year, it was a very different kind of an environment where ESG and the larger, debate was catching up in India. So it's so unique, the selection mechanism. So it's very difficult, but I can possibly narrate experiences, not my best ones. I think something which was quite heart-touching was that when I made a visit to Baramulla in Kashmir, and I saw a very young child being aided through, and the child had actually lost his limbs because of mines left unattended. It's a conflict zone. Children just go out, looking for their play equipment, and so, and I mean, if not that aid by our partner She Hope, I mean, they wouldn't have got he couldn't have walked. And we went further down and we saw many such children, you know, who kind of, and I was just reviewing with the team, and the child is still in our program, and each year the aid, you know, the walking aid has to be changed because these are growing children. So you can understand that if not programs like this which make an outreach into the most difficult areas, into the most remote areas, and we often say underserved communities for one reason or the other, we actually make that effort that okay, let's go there where, and the life today is fully transformed. I mean, child plays, I mean, there's cricket and all of that happens. The other experience I will say is, you know, when we kind of travel northeast, the remotest, you know, the Burma border, and I come from public health, and there's always this dream that, you know, we must have across the country a fully functional public health care system where all mothers do get their ANC, PNC. There's a right to health that we always talk about. And I remember when we started the program, those PHCs were almost being used as, and this single PHC which I'm talking about, being used as, you know, something where animals were left, and like dog shelters or something like that. Forget about any medical aid there. We visited and we saw a functional PHC being and having won the Kayakalp award by Government of India. And, you know, that's when you say that okay, fine, there is a fulfilling, you know, it takes 5 years, it takes 3 to 5 years, it takes a lot of liaising with government, it takes those NGOs that effort to bring the right kind of resources. So it's not the 5 crore, it's the leveraging that happens. The another wonderful experience I remember from Gujarat, we were visiting villages next to Anand, and you know, the campus that is, you know, our Foundation for Ecological Security has. And when I saw that it is possible to include environment action in the village development plan, it's possible that panchayats prioritize biodiversity, panchayats prioritize you know, the green governance of the land, which means that if there's MNREGA happening, if there are other panchayat resources, how is it that they can plan at the village level and divert those resources to bring about greening within their village and take ownership of that. And today acres and acres of land has been brought under community governance. So I mean, I can just keep going and going and going. But the other one is from, you know, this farmer community we were visiting in parts of Madhya Pradesh, where they've been able to completely change the crop pattern by just rearing bees using natural farming methods, and that's under the mango tree, our partner. But my latest one, which is where, you know, we really think that what a significant difference a program like HCLTech Grant can make is Shardol is a district in Madhya Pradesh which still experiences highest maternal mortality rate, and we are working with each mother. The health minister has been working with us. We've been able to equip the ANMs, Anganwadi workers, ASHA workers with best of training and capacity building, but also equipment, technology enabled equipment, a kit which they can carry. They can do the testing on ground, they can test whether the mother is anemic or not, and how that has brought in complete shift in the number of ANCs and identification of high risk pregnancies which is happening. I'm very confident that this program, which is running also in partnership with University of Manitoba, and IHAT is our implementation. IHAT has actually won the grant on this. Once these left out regions attain the SDGs, look at the big shift that will happen and how nation building happens. So all the examples that I have narrated these are absolutely those communities where corporates, government, individuals, everybody needs to come together and make that final push, and that's how nation building.
Absolutely true, ma'am. With that, because we've talked about SDGs and how the grant is aligned with it, I want to know, like, what are the different SDGs that the grant is touching upon, and do you leverage the SDG India Index report that is being published by Niti Aayog?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we always say that SDGs is a larger framework, and having participated myself in the making of the SDGs when I was working in the capacity of global advisor prior to coming, that was 2015, before 2015. See, the way SDGs are constructed is that if you actually try and say, okay, I'm just doing 1 or 2 or 3, I mean, if you look at goal number 1, it is end poverty goal. Yes, unless you work on everything else, you are actually doing nothing. Correct. Right? So it's always a mistake when you say that I am just doing health and 3 and gender and education and this. Eventually, this is a poverty alleviation program. Eventually, it's an end poverty program. So I would say that one way or the other, there is, if I say education, health, environment, there's a broad base here. And goal number 16, partnerships, convergence, all of that, 16, 17, they also come into the play. So I would not say that just 1 goal or 2 goal. HCLTech Grant is a broad-based program. Larger, we are actually reaching out to goal number 1 in that sense. By all, environmental poverty is also something which is very real. So that's what it is, and of course Niti Aayog, in fact Amitabh Kanji himself felicitated HCLTech Grant and has been a great I would say mentor, plus he has, I remember his speech where he said that the methodology of HCL Grant is something which rather guides the other methodologies in big way, and he was here on our campus and it was a privilege to hear him out. So we work quite closely, yes.
That's great to know, ma'am. Since the grant has had 8 editions and it's on its 9th edition, I would like to know how have the editions been different, if there has been any distinguishing factor.
No, there has been. I mean, each year is a new journey. I would say it's not, because also let's understand, country is also changing very fast. I mean, last 5 years we have stepped into Amritkal. Already we've kind of just celebrated our 75 years of independence. The law was framing 2015, 16 when people began to, law just came out 14. So within the context of CSR law, we have seen a kind of maturity which is coming up. We've seen that the way other corporates, NGOs, like this year the flavor was presidency, G20. So from C20 to W20 to G20, our symposiums, IIMs hosted us, best of the institutions hosted us, NCUI, the National Cooperation Skill. So much is happening. And I would say it's completely a different experience, and my team can vouch for it. It's so dynamic that if we keep ourselves abreast with the situation assessment, if we keep reshaping the kind of outreach that we do, the kind of sectoral debate that happens, when we take into cognizance the developmental indicators, the socio-economical developmental indicators, the flavor changes. And the cases which come to the jury each year, we haven't seen kind of any boredom, because NGOs also reshape even if they're applying for the 5th or the 6th or the 7th time, they are coming with a fresh approach to the work that they are doing. So, and we have kind of, put out a new challenge each year, even if it's the same category. At times it's technology, at times it's innovation, at times it's how do we align with the presidency, G20 presidency, at times how do we kind of talk to the larger Paris agenda and things like that. So there is newness each time. Having said that, in development sector, stability is also important. Consistency is important. Continuity is important. So I would not even advise that you keep making it jerky each year. It need not be that there are already roads that we travel which are not that easy. Yes. So consistency is important.
Yes, definitely, ma'am. Since the grant has been there for so many years, it was conceptualized in 2015. What is the due diligence process that is in place when you shortlist the NGOs or when you call out for the nominations?
So I think now it's become a bit of a carved in stone kind of a thing, and it's so cultural. So we put out the call for abstracts, which is open for 50 to 60 days. Abstracts is somewhere where they can get very creative. They can write the idea. It can be startup, it can be fresh, it can be a mix of two. So there's a lot of flexibility. And at the stage of abstract, which is a typical abstract, and I urge NGOs to let it remain at the, don't overdo it, don't underdo it, don't kill it, write it, make it very creative, make it very appealing, because your best has to come out in those couple of words which are allowed. And the reason is that earlier we used to ask for full proposal. The reason we came to an abstract format initially is that the numbers were increasing, and the more effort, and also NGOs were making a lot of effort. So realizing their effort, we said, let's do just abstract at a first stage. Once they are selected, we reach out to them for detailed proposal. That's their opportunity to write a lock frame, development indicators, how is it aligned with Niti Aayog indicators, SDGs, block level indicators. I would again urge NGOs to please look at the plan of the panchayat. I still, when I go through the applications, or my subject matter experts, or our jury and sub-jury, have we even gone to the panchayat? Have we ever made that dialogue happen? So the success of a rural development program is in partnership with Panchayat Raj institutions. So that's where I think whether we've taken a helicopter view, whether we've taken a so it's micro, meso and macro. So the success is at that level, because we're talking about villages. We're talking about more than 70,000 villages which are being influenced today through this program. So that's the method. Of course, then from proposals, there are very eminent subject matter experts working for years in this sector. So there are 2-3 processes. HCL Foundation team reads, subject matter experts read, our governance partner Grant Thornton, which has been part of the journey for quite some time, they look at governance aspects, and then they triangulate. Right. Once the triangulation happens, the best 45 are picked up for field visit. Now, field visit for us is a very serious exercise. It's just not about going and so again, I think trust is very critical here. We are not mistrusting. All we are going there is to see whether the community's cognizance is there. Is it relevant enough? And within that visit also, a lot of mutual learning happens. So there is another opportunity. A lot of NGOs just come and tell us that somebody visited us, because many of them have never been visited. Their work has never been seen by anybody. That by itself is motivational for us as well, because what we learn there is you go and you spend your time with communities, you eat local food, you witness local culture, you meet the tribes, it's so humbling. And then we of course do 10 per category, which become a part of the compendium. That's where I think the process becomes very, very stringent, and then it goes to the sub-jury and then the jury.
Thank you, ma'am, for giving us the detailed information about the HCL grant, the India wing, I'd say. Now that we've discussed about the India segment, or the India version of the HCLTech grant, we know that the HCLTech grant has gone global and is now working at the climate action in the Americas. Can you tell us a bit more about that? And that'll be my last question for you.
It's a very lovely question, and when I used to be in the global parlance, I was always asked the other way around, best practices coming from the global north to global south, but it's actually a it's a moment of pride, where there is this complete, there's a practice which we've been able to establish, the trust of the non-government. And there was always this, I would say back end, there was always this, that there are organizations working globally, and similar models perhaps do not, there are a lot of grants. Let's first acknowledge, grant models, we've studied so many grant models across the globe. From various entities there are grants, but a corporate putting out a grant within CSR, I can still say it's a very, very unique step that HCLTech has taken, and our CEO Mr. Vijay Kumar himself is the executive sponsor. and we are blessed by, again, Roshni for, with her entire guidance on environment conservation, climate action, and this is the first of its kind again, where the grant is focused on climate action, and it's called HCLTech Grant on Climate Action in Americas. It's $5 million US dollar commitment over 5 years, where each year 3 organizations would be awarded for 1 year project. The first one would get 500,000 and the other one 250,000. We have structured it quite carefully, and I would maybe I am not wrong saying that in 10 diverse countries of America, Costa Rica, Panama, Brazil, Argentina, America, US as in Canada, something similar. It's difficult to find because the 10 countries that we've taken, of course, the reason for that is HCLTech has its business there, and we work closely with the communities and the government, but the outreach is very clear. It's again to the grassroots level, community-led action, nature-based solutions on climate action. We are looking for innovative ideas which are again scalable and replicable. Big or small doesn't matter, fresh or having already a proof of concept doesn't matter. There is an eminent selection committee again with internal and external experts. Right now the registrations are open. NGOs which have a base in those countries, a registered office in those countries, they can apply. We've taken into cognizance the legal framework of each country. Therefore, the minimum criteria for writing the abstract is 3 years. Registration, there is no criteria. Anyone can register. So we're quite thrilled and excited, and I think there's a global team, again very inclusive team, and our CSR councils in those 10 countries where HCLTech operates. They're all participating, and there's a lot of enthusiasm, and we're looking forward to yet another, maybe compendiums like this in future which will aid the sector.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving us such detailed information about the grant, even how you're planning to go global, and we wish you a lot of success with it. Thank you so much for giving your precious time to us.
Thank you so much, Avantika,
Thank you so much.
And hope you had a good time at Foundation. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks.